Hi, this is Barbara Sanders, and this is Sacred Metamorphoses, my YouTube channel. And I'm talking today with Mary Beth Murphy, and I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. My website is sacred-transformation.com, and it is February 19th. And I've been laughing a lot for the last 2 days. I know there's a lot going on astrologically as well as transitionally in our world today. And I think part of my response or my coping skill is just laughing a lot. I don't know. So you may see me laughing, might cry too. So that'll be all right. So this is Beth Murphy. Why can't I say your name? I met Mary Beth first, I think, online with Tammy Roth in Family Constellations training. And you're trained as a facilitator, aren't you? Because I'm not, but I took some of the training. And we still participate in Tammy's constellations online while other people are getting their constellations done. And I know that Mary Beth is very skillful at lots of other things too. I was fortunate to have her drive me actually to St. George Island for a retreat once and drive me home. This was part-time Florida home, and that was really sweet of you to do that. I appreciate you. But mainly, I want to say about you, Mary Beth, is that there are just some people in life that I feel like I connect to, just like just magic. And you're one of those for me. That doesn't mean you have to say I'm one of those for you, but I've always felt like that about you. You were one of the few people that I talked to online who's met my son also and my husband. A lot of people I talk with online don't know those people. I went to Maine for Thanksgiving a couple of years ago and got to see Mary Beth and two of her children. It was lovely. Thank you. So I'm going to let Mary Beth tell you about her. She will tell you all sorts of things. I'll put some of this in the comments below the YouTube video so you can get in touch with her if you'd like to, because she's very talented, creative, and skillful in so many ways. Mary Beth, tell us about you.
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you first, Barbara, for inviting me on your YouTube channel. And I do feel the same way about you. When I met you online, it was magical. Of course, being in the quantum field with anybody in that way is very special and sacred. And I also remember meeting you for the first time in person and being super excited that you were tiny like me, like we were both short, because online we can't tell that when we're in a little square. So I always get a kick out of meeting people in real life and having that three-dimensional connection as well.
Yes.
So yeah, so we met, I think, gosh, maybe 2021 or 2022. It's kind of weird. It's like ever since COVID, I feel like time is
Mhm.
wonky, but around there. And it was through Tammy. And Tammy, I had met through She Recovers. So I'm a woman who identifies as being in recovery from many things, but alcohol was the substance that got me to my recovery space. And when I look at the timeline now, it's been 9.5 years, or almost 9.5 years since I've had alcohol. But before that, I was Reiki attuned at the hospital I worked at. So I'm a registered nurse by trade, and the word Reiki came into my field, and I was like, "What's that?" And it immediately felt like something I needed to learn. And you don't necessarily see Eastern practices like that being offered at a Western hospital. So I also felt like that was, you know, a beautiful thing and a sign to do to try it out. So I believe that Reiki was sort of my gateway to spirituality as far as waking up to it. But I think I was always somebody that was spiritual, but I toned it down because the people I grew up with, my family of origin, didn't know how to handle that part of me. My friends either. Like I would say really bizarre, weird things about existence and why are we all here? And people would just be like, I don't like they didn't get me. So I wasn't gotten by my family of origin, and I just stuffed it down and down and down. So I think the Reiki sort of like helped me break out of that and perhaps maybe a little bit of menopause or perimenopause and getting rid of a little bit of estrogen where you kind of, you don't care as much about what other people think about you and you really can get more authentic in yourself. Well, that's what happened to me anyway. And also not drinking opened up a huge portal to my spirituality and connecting back to where I came from. So I wanted to just, mention the Reiki piece because I do think that that was how I got sober as well, because I had the whisper and my drinking didn't look like, drinking looks different for a lot of different people, but mine was daily wine drinking. Um, and it worked until it didn't work. But essentially, I was trying to cope with a life that wasn't working for me
Mhm.
in many ways. Um, I married my unfinished business as far as my family of origin story just kind of tumbled right into my uh, the partner relationship and my marriage and then the house and the home I was trying to create. Um, all of this completely unconsciously, right?
Mhm.
Like we don't know that when we choose our partner, what that's all about. So I'm grateful for those lessons. And as a result, when I got sober, um, well, I think I was talking about the tap. The tap on the shoulder to stop drinking was quiet until it wasn't quiet, which was a broken ankle and sitting with a cast on my leg and being immobile and trying to figure out how I was going to get my next glass of wine with crutches, like a wine glass with crutches. And like I had this whole process of um, the shame spiral. Like, wow, life is pretty bad if I'm worried about how I'm going to get my next wine glass. So I just Googled how do you get sober, and I white knuckled it for about 2.5 years until I in 2019 went to a retreat in Kripalu with a wonderful organization called She Recovers. And that was when I heard angels singing and I found my people. Because being in a circle of women that are trying to live on this earth without their crutch, and which was mine was alcohol, was like no other. I loved how authentic people were. I loved how they went right deep really quick. There was no surface talk, and it was my people. And
Something.
yeah, sure.
One is I didn't know that you were a Reiki person. I trained in Reiki also years and years and years ago, about 20, 25 years ago. So I appreciate that about you. And I know you're going to say something about recovery, but I remember the other way we were together online during COVID was I think y'all called it a recovery group of women. We met on Wednesday evenings, and I joined that group because I loved the women so much, and I was never to myself identified as a substance recovery person. So the whole time I was there, we met for a year or two. I remember thinking, what am I recovering from? What am I recovering from? And everything. It's like everything, from chocolate to love addiction to all sorts of things. And so I really like that there was and is a wider way of looking at people, women in recovery, because it's not just about substances and it's not just about other people in love. It's just all those things that we make sort of mini gods that help us cope, as you say, not just survive, well, just surviving, that we developed over time. And so as we shed some of those things, I think you're right that the spirituality really opens up inside us. And that group of women really helped me a lot. And I appreciate your being part of that. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you brought that into the discussion because it did like it morphed into the unstoppable dream, which is what you're talking about. And that was a program developed by Whitney Freya and Tammy Roth
That's right.
with using creativity and then talking about spheres of wellness to sort of not necessarily just get into recovery, but how to stay in recovery, right? So, using the energies of love, compassion, courage, alignment, presence, and gratitude. All six of those are the energies that I want to be in. I don't necessarily resonate with victimhood for very long. That's my personality. I don't want to be sitting in that, like I visit the muck, but I don't stay in the muck.
Hmm.
So it's not like I'm pushing it away. It's just that it doesn't resonate with my personality. I've always been more, I don't want to say toxic positivity because it isn't that at all. I have no problem talking about my feelings. I go deep real quick, and not many people can handle that. Like I'm definitely, I think in my family of origin, I would have been called too much. Like I'm too much.
Absolutely. I wrote a poem
Yeah.
called Too Much, Too Much. And yes,
Yeah.
it's like people in my family also kind of had to, wanted to squash me, especially my mother, who was a church lady, and my sister, who was, but I realized later, only about 10 years ago, how uncomfortable I made them because I was exuberant and enthusiastic. So it wasn't even the negative you're not supposed to talk about or feel. You're not supposed to be animated either in my family of origin. So anyway, that's probably how I identify with you also. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't win either way, right? The extremes, the polarities, right? But it all belongs is what we found in family constellation work. So, yes. So, and that's another piece, right? So when I get sober, I begin to find myself and I have this like sense of excitement. And then there's these shiny objects that I am drawn to, like family constellation work and acupressure and coaching and learning all like craniosacral therapy. Like I couldn't learn enough about the nervous system and how to manage it. So, I found out that I was a highly sensitive person, which means that I'm empathetic to I don't want to say a fault because I think it's a superpower. And it actually made me a fantastic nurse because I knew what my patients needed before they knew. And, but it was also, that was something that trickled into my family. And I took on that role of caretaker and I took it seriously. And I would say that I burnt out. I burnt out of a lot of roles. I burnt out of my role as a wife. I burnt out of my role as a mother to special needs children. I burnt out to nursing, and a lot of my ego didn't want to admit that I was burning out, but that's what burnout was. Like it just looks different for me. And my codependency, right, which is my beautiful thing I learned in my family of origin, which is what had to play out in my marriage. So 3 years into my sobriety, I asked for a divorce, and I sat in that limbo of do I stay or do I go for probably about 15 years. But when I got sober, it was so much like it's kind of like you can't not see it anymore. Like it was so blatantly obvious we were on different paths. And I went through that whole grief of the divorce, and man, I held on to that one for a long time. As far as just trying to process it, right? Because it was a long-term marriage. It was a 30-year relationship. 28 years of it was marriage. So, and 4 kids. So a lot to unpack there. And a lot of, self-forgiveness and self-nurturing that I needed to learn that I was not getting in that relationship either, but I didn't realize it's not about him giving it to me, it's about me giving it to me. So these are all the aha moments I'm realizing in my recovery. So again, what we say in She Recovers is we're all in recovery from something. And then what happens is you get some awarenesses about one thing that you're doing that's not really all that, you know, for your highest good. And then something else shows up.
Mhm.
So it never stops. Um, but I think what happens is there's like a little bit of grounding when you're sober in this world. Like my feet are on the ground and I feel better equipped for taking life in on life's terms, right? Because I mean, the other thing to bring in here is my I lost two children last year to suicide, one in May and one in August. And essentially, both of them were struggling, and they were wearing some heavy duty masks to keep us all from that dark side of them. Uh, so I I I knew in my bones that they weren't meant for long lives. And as a mother, I felt really guilty even thinking that. But I had shared that with a few close friends that I really wasn't all that surprised that they left when they did. Like they came in, they did their mission, and they're gone. They're gone by bodily, but they're not gone by spirit. Like spirit wise, I feel super connected to them. And I'm looking forward to develop even a more connection with them. I'm learning how to do that through this support group that I'm in, trying to stay connected to them in the spirit world, which again, I wouldn't have access to that if I weren't in recovery.
Mhm.
So there's no mistakes here. My timeline is definitely playing out. Like the universe does have my back, even though on paper, having a divorce and then two deaths of children within 3 years is devastating. It's devastating. Um, but that in my recovery and the community and the women that I've surrounded myself with, like yourself, Barbara, um, I would have never felt that um, that that what I want to call it like I think about the Metatron's cube. I think about the energetics of that love and that unconditional love that people are sending out to me that are literally, it feels like a hammock holding me in the universe. Like I feel so cared for.
You are
And
you are being
that
cared for. Yes.
I feel it like in such a potent and embodied way that if I hadn't lost my two kids, I would have never experienced that. So this is the, how both and, right? You can have extreme grief and loss, and then you can experience such love and depth of being nurtured and cared for by my community. So it's so beautiful that it takes my breath away. Um, and of course, like, people talk about losing children, and like that's the most devastating scenario anyone could possibly. I mean, like, I was a mother of four children, and like, of course, you worry about your kids. You're worried when they get their license. You're worried about when they go out and go to college. You worry, like, you worry. And talking about gene keys for a minute, the gene key is mine is detachment, is my gift. Detaching with love. And I was, in the process of doing that with my four kids because that's like the biggest um, relationship or the most focused relationship about learning how to detach is I feel like with my children is
Yeah.
I wanted them to be able to have their experience, right? Without me
Right. And
like
we codependent types love to take care of everyone and keep them connected, and we have to let some of
and
that go. And
right.
I just want to mention that you brought up the gene keys, which I love also. And that for other people who don't know them is Richard Rudd, Rudd. You can look at GENE keys online and find all sorts of programs and all sorts of information. You can find out what your gene keys are and that kind of thing. But I want to thank you for sharing what you did about your children, partly because I met one of your children who's no longer physically with us, Olivia. And oh, I had a hard time when you first told us that Olivia was no longer here. For all sorts of reasons I won't go into, but that was really tough for me. And I'm not trying to tell you, oh, take care of me either, but it was tough for the whole group of us who loved you. And then when your second child died, it just incredibly amazing that you are walking around as you are today and speaking like you are today. And I know all of that goes into the work that you provide for other people. And so, can you tell us a little bit about what you do that people could reach out to you and find some services for themselves by all the gifts you have and talents and skills?
Oh, thank you so much for letting me share that with you. So again, a big part of my recovery is managing my nervous system.
Mhm.
So I've really immersed myself in Reiki and in acupressure and in craniosacral therapy, as well as just educating people about, their sensory input. Like, what are you watching on TV? What are you listening to? Podcasts? What are you watching on YouTube? What do you like? If you're watching this on YouTube, you're in good shape because it's high vibration, right? So um like who are you hanging out with, like when you go and hang out with a certain friend, do you feel energized when you're with them, or do you feel depleted after you're with them? Just being kind of taking inventory of how in your body do you feel when you're doing different things, and that's sort of how I'm able to be here on this call and share what I know after the year I had, because this is my recovery in action.
Mhm.
And I feel like um, my purpose on earth is to shine the lantern or hold the lantern. Like, so um, Florence Nightingale was the nurse back in the Crimean War days, and she would hold the lantern and go check on all her patients. And I'm not necessarily here to fix anyone anymore. I realize that I'm here to hold the light and the lantern to show people what worked for me. And if it resonates for you, then perhaps you can learn from what I went through. Um,
You al-
so, uh,
also teach yoga, don't you,
Oh
still?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yep. So I teach trauma informed yoga, and I do that online with She Recovers on various Wednesdays at noon. So you could check me out there. The next one I'm doing is March 4th at noon, 2026, and I also do the coaching, facilitate their coaching calls twice a day. They have one at 12 noon, and they have one at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'm on some of those calls as a coach. And I'm not on any social media anymore because that's part of my recovery. Is I was finding that social media was really just bringing up lots of uh, I didn't feel good in my body when I was on it or when I was putting it down. I felt like, you know what, it needs to go. And this is what I'm talking about in recovery, right? Just constantly taking a pulse of what is going on and like slowing down enough to see what's happening for
Mhm.
you. So I have ended up, I have gone into Substack, which I find to be a little bit more settling and grounded for me. It's a place for me to write about my experience, about my loss with my children, with my recovery and action sort of ways,
Mhm.
and hoping that again, shining my light. If it resonates, great, and if it doesn't, you know, you just
Mhm.
swipe to the next
Right.
author there. So that's a little vulnerable for me because my writing is it's new for me, but I also feel I learned in Constellation that it's going to be a tool for me for my own healing. So yeah,
And you write very well and share very vulnerably and well. And so I'm going to put again in the comment part how you can get in touch with Mary Beth in those ways on our Substack. It is new to you, and I'm so glad you're doing it. It's so nice
yeah.
to get those posts from you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what else? What else is going on with you, and what can we share with everybody?
Yeah, I think the last thing I just want to share is I've been called to change up. I'm not sure if it's the year of the fire horse or not. I know that people are talking about how fire horse is like fast forward movement. And I'm not necessarily thinking that that's exactly how I want to look at it. I want to make it like more like grounding and getting a hold of the reins of the fire horse,
Mhm.
and not letting it get away from me, but more like how can I harness and rein in that energy and move forward and forward motion in my life, with all four of my children, um, two on the other side, right? So I feel like my grief isn't going anywhere, right? My grief goes with me. And I like to say it's almost like a cloak or a shawl Like I don't want my grief to go away. Like my grief is my connection to them.
Mhm.
And grief doesn't have to be what people are imagining it to be, right? It can be it's like I'm embodying the grief and I am respecting it and learning from it, and it's teaching me how to live, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so I guess what I'm trying to say is I wanted to lead into is I'm renting out my condo in York, Maine, and I bought myself um,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
a van.
Well, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing van life as a form of healing, and I felt very supported by my two children on the other side to say, "Go for it, mom." It's going to be simplifying. It's just going to be just me. So I'm going to be leaving my beautiful dog Thor with my ex because he could use the dog love with what he's going through. So this is going to be the first time that I'm going to be not having to care for anybody but me.
That is
So it's
so exciting for me to hear. So exciting. I think
yeah,
there's another woman I know, Jenna Longmire, who started her nomadic existence after selling a house last year. And she came down to Florida actually and stayed at my place for a while. And I just think separating ourselves, people have heard this before, but from our communities, at least briefly, can really help us ground ourselves, but also develop the stability, security, and connection to wisdom and everything else that we may not have done during those childbearing years and marriage years and all the and career years that I was scattered all over everywhere and I loved being busy and I was busy, busy, busy. But only till I was semi-retired did I have the time or energy to really learn to take care of myself for the first time. Because, Southern women, you may not know this, brought up in a church, you're always supposed to be doing for other people. It was never even considered that you do for yourself. That was selfish and self-centered, all those things. But it's just so wonderful to know that we need to take good care of ourselves. And that helps us detach from expecting or no or thinking that anyone else is supposed to be doing that for us. That's not their job. Their job is take care.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So
Like what a novel idea.
oh, women haven't known very much about that, or some women, because we were taught to take care of. And biologically, maybe that's what we do also. And when we turn it on ourselves, if we get used to the idea and not feel guilty about it or selfish about it, I've seen amazing things happen with the women that I know, and many of them in your circles too.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm even going to add in one more thing about that. I'm not I already know this. I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving or Christmas next year.
Isn't that great? Are you coming through?
Right?
Are you coming through Nashville some so we can see you?
I am definitely going to be doing the East Coast
Okay.
at some point,
Okay.
but I have like a soft launch plan, but it's probably not going to happen till the end of October.
Okay, I don't need to go into details about that, but I'm so excited for you that you chose and are choosing to do that.
Thank you. And you can read about it on Substack if you want to follow me.
Yes, yes. Follow Mary Beth, then follow
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're going to need to stop. Let's see Thor just a little bit more. Let's
Oh,
see.
yep. Thor is right here.
Hi, Thor. We both are dog people. We love our doggies.
Yep.
Mine's not in
He's
here.
kissing me.
Yeah, and by the way, to help you rent or Airbnb or whatever you're doing in your house, Mary Beth's condo is right near the beach, right? In
That's right. I'm in York, Maine.
I may have to go. Are you gonna rent it to long-term or short-term people?
It has to be at least a 30-day rental because of the way my HOA is.
Okay,
So
well, that's
it's a
cool.
30-day rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any last words for us from you, about the world?
Oh, just I think that we're all here on this earth at this particular moment in time. That, either we chose to be here or we were chosen to be here because we have something to offer. So my advice is, nervous system management, if that's something that calls to you, stay grounded, put your feet on the earth, be, you know, centered and ride the wave because we're in it. Um, but we can certainly show up centered and grounded, and that's what I plan on doing. So, or that's what I am doing.
And you're sharing that. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you doing this for me. I know you didn't have to, and I really am so glad we finally got to talk. Thank
Thank you so much for this, Barbara. I
you.
love you.
I will see you soon, I hope. I love you too. Bye bye.
Bye.